Again, thank you all so much for joining us this evening. My name is Jennifer Kramer. I'm president of the Glenview Public Library Foundation, whose sole mission is to support the Glenview Public Library and enhance their programming and services offered to our community. It's a 501c nonprofit organization. All of our members are volunteers. And the foundation in particular supports two of the most popular programs at the library every year. One of which is coming up, the Glenview Summer Reading Program you may know about. It had over 3,000 participants last year, children, teens, adults alike. And the other program is Glenview Reads Together, which is why we're here tonight. So if you'd like to continue to support those programs, please help yourself to a foundation bookmark. There's a QR code. You can make a donation if you'd like. If you're interested in hearing more about the foundation, you can just go to the library's website, scroll to the bottom, and click on the foundation's link, and you can read a little bit more about what we do. And if you're interested in helping out and participating in the foundation, we'd love to hear from you. Also of note, the foundation's kicking off a special fundraising campaign this year. The library is going to embark on a multi-year project to reconfigure the library, and starting off with the play space. So if you spend any time there with the kids, you'll see a lot of changes, and the foundation is helping to support that. So again, any donations would go towards that as well. And if you're interested in participating in any of our work, please sign our sign-up sheet that's at the front desk there, or contact us through the website. We'd love to hear from you. So thank you again for joining us this evening and your continued support of the library.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. I am Lindsay Dorfman. I am the Executive Library Director of the Glenview Public Library. So part of what we do at the library is bring people together to build community. And what better way to connect with others than through a shared reading experience? That's what sorry, can you hear me? Yeah, sorry. Okay, that's better. That's what the Glenview Reads Together is all about. So I don't know if it's just because I'm a woman of a certain age, but this book really did speak to me. But mostly I think it's probably because my little baby boy is now taller than his dad and has a deep man voice. The way that Rocky parented her adult children really spoke to me. I found it to be very thoughtful and heartwarming, and it inspired me to think about how I'm going to parent my son as he grows older and more independent. And it was really an inspiration for me. I think it was a great book. I want to thank our library team who planned this program for choosing this book and for all the work that they put into planning Glenview Reads Together. They have a real knack for just choosing great books that speak to our community. And they did it again this year. I'm very proud of them for that. And also want to thank the foundation. Their work really helps to expand and extend the programming that we do here at the library, and it's because of their generosity that we were able to bring Catherine Newman here today. So I'm going to hand it over to Michael, who is one of our fabulous adult services librarians. He's going to introduce the program and also our esteemed author.
Thank you, Lindsay. Everybody hear me? Thank you all so much for being here. My name is Michael White. I'm a programming librarian here at the Glenview Public Library. No, not here. Over there at the Glenview Library. We're at the Lakeview room. It's really powerful for us to do this work and to see you all here in this room right now, having read the book. Hopefully you've read the book, and then to share the experience of being in the room together and then connecting over that reading experience. So to do this work throughout the year and then to be here is really powerful for us. So thank you all very much for being here. I just want to take a quick thanks to the bookstall for being here. They're in the back. They'll be happy to sell you a book. And Catherine will sign it a little bit later. So thank you, bookstall, for being here. We appreciate their continued partnership helping us organize these events. I also want to thank the Park District. Thank you so much for allowing us this space. You know, we couldn't fit all of you in our community room, so it's important that who were able to borrow this place tonight to fit you all in and have this wonderful experience. Thank you. Now it's my honor to introduce our two guests tonight. Catherine Newman is the New York Times best-selling author of the parenting memoirs Catastrophic Happiness and Waiting for Birdie. She's written middle grade novels, kids' craft books, best-selling how-to books for kids, and of course, the novels We All Want Impossible Things and Sandwich. She writes the Substack newsletter Crone Sandwich and has been a regular contributor to the New York Times, Real Simple, O, the Oprah magazine, and many other publications. She lives in Amherst, Massachusetts, and she serves as the Academic Department Coordinator of Creative Writing at Amherst College. Heidi Stevens is Director of External Affairs at the University of Chicago's TMW Center for Early Learning and Public Health. Before joining the University of Chicago, Heidi worked at the Chicago Tribune for 23 years as a writer and an editor. For the past decade, she's written a daily column called Balancing Act that is now a nationally syndicated column published once a week. And there's also a very robust Facebook community around Balancing Act that's really amazing. So on behalf of the Glenview Public Library Foundation, on behalf of the staff at the Glenview Library, I invite you to give a warm welcome to Catherine Newman and Heidi Stevens.
Look at all these people.
I know. Amazing.
I came out on a rainy Wednesday.
A rainy Wednesday night.
We appreciate it.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me in the back?
Hello, hello. Is this mic on? No.
You have to turn it on.
Hello, hello, hello. Can you hear me now?
Oh, this is so nice. It's a full room. To talk about books.
Are those your parents?
Yeah.
I'm so glad they're here.
We became best friends like a half hour ago. We're not gonna lie. Yeah, I know you're all jealous, but she's my best friend now, so get in line. Okay, before we talk about the book, which I absolutely loved, tell everybody what you did today before you came here. After you landed in Chicago, where did you go?
My
No.
like the normal.
No, but that's not true.
I took a taxi to the Montrose Point Bird Sanctuary, and I went swimming in the lake with people I didn't know.
And where are the people you didn't know now?
They're here.
They're here. I
I didn't know them, like, I hadn't met them, but I did know them, sort of. We had texted.
Who feels better about humanity right now?
I do.
Right? Me
Thank
too.
you guys. It was the best.
I love that. Okay, so I absolutely love the book. I tell everyone I know to read it because it was so fantastic. And the thing I hear over and over and over is like, finally, a book that captures my life. And they don't mean the week we spend every week in Cape Cod with our kids and Kat and parents. They mean what you captured. So was this a book that you felt like you needed to write, or a book that you felt like you needed to read?
So a
couple things happened leading up to writing this book. Can you hear me okay? Yeah. One thing is that I was sitting on the beach in Cape Cod, and there were these drunk frat boys behind me on the beach, and I heard one of them say, "Dude, you know what was in the koi pond?" And the other one said, "Koi?" And the first one said, "Yeah." And I thought, I will write a book just so I have somewhere to put that. I wrote it down, and here we are. And the other thing I was doing while making notes, eavesdropping on the beach, I'm the person who brings a book and a magazine to the beach, and then it sticks to my legs because I'm not actually reading because I'm eavesdropping. The other thing that was happening at this time in my life is that I was keeping a bulletless document called Symptoms of Menopause. And this thing was just getting longer and longer, and every time I behaved in a particular way, one of my kids would be like, "Add it to the list." And it was just a list of like physical symptoms and, you know, pieces of my psyche like falling off and hitting the ground and all the horrible, horrible things. And meanwhile, my kids were growing and my parents were getting older. Anyway, I thought, why not crash all these things together into a book? And that really was the book.
It really was the book. And there's a part in the book where the family they go to the ladies' book sale.
Yeah,
right?
The Brewster Ladies Library book sale.
The ladies' library book sale. And Rocky's kind of bemoaning the lack of books about menopause that actually capture anything about menopause, and is looking for a book that's called, like, it's got the F word in it. And
the V word.
And the V word, and bitterness and trauma. And I feel like you kind of wrote the book that like all of us would really be looking for if we went to that book sale.
Thank you for that. Yeah, I mean, have you heard that menopause is having a moment? Which I love shit like that so much because, like, yeah, it's been having a moment.
Right.
Like, I'm sorry, it's not. Someone was like, "Ooh, menopause, very zeitgeist." I was like, I think this has been for all of human history.
Right.
Okay. That said, I guess it's having a moment because, I can tell by my Instagram ads, which are all for products related to that. And there are a couple of books, like the Miranda July book, which is a really different flavor.
All fours.
Of book. But anyway, thank you.
Yeah, and Naomi Watts and Halle
Yeah.
Berry's got a masterclass and all the things. But but this is very different. But I can see why people would say it's having a moment, right? Yeah, people are nodding along. Yeah. So menopause captured beautifully, family captured beautifully. There's also there's a secret at the center of the book that is almost a character in and of itself, right? We sort of learn more about it as the book goes on. But Rocky's secret is only one secret, right? Like Jamie and Maya have a secret, and Rocky's dad has a secret, even though he says he didn't really intend it to be a secret. And I wondered which came first, although now I know the book was inspired by the koi conversation you overheard. But like, did you have in mind that secret and sort of build a story around it, or did you have in mind a family and then build the secret into the family?
That's a great question. I knew you were going to ask good questions. So when I was pitching the book, despite everything I've already said about the book and what inspired it, what I pitched it as was a book about like reproductive mayhem. This was my big pitch. You can imagine people like glazing over or being panic-stricken, or some combination of glazing over and being panic-stricken. So I did want to write a book about, Rocky's menopausal, but she's having these memories because she's been going to the same place every week, every summer of her reproductive life, essentially. She's just having all these memories of summers before. I'm going to interrupt myself and your question just to say that I was interviewed by somebody very lovely who was a man. Yeah. So he said to me, truly he was lovely. I'm being snarky a teeny bit, and I'm about to be snarkier, but he was a wonderful interviewer. But he said to me, Catherine, this could have been such a lovely book about a family week on the Cape. Why did you feel the need to bring all this kind of mess into it? And I was like, tell me about it. Yeah, that's a great question. Because the mess came with me. I don't know who's having their week on vacation where happily your reproductive body got left at home and you're a brain in a jar and everyone's like, oh, grab mom, the jar, because she's coming to dinner with us, brain in a jar. No, it's the whole boat is coming, all of it, in all of its tattered horrors. Anyways, that was an aside.
That was a good aside, though.
So I think The Secret was an organizing structure for me because I had a story I wanted to tell, a story about a certain kind of reproductive, memory and trauma and experience, and I wanted it to unfold in that way, I guess.
Yeah. And then The Secret was sort of a vehicle, I guess, for
yeah. I think so. And then the other secrets, I mean, in a weird way, I feel almost like that's the way life is, the way, if there's a secret, then there are more secrets.
Right.
I think there was something about writing a secret that generated other secrets in the book. So secrets became this organizing principle that I didn't really realize before I was writing it.
That makes sense, because the family really talks a lot, right? They're talkers. They're not, they talk, they talk about their feelings. They talk a lot to each other. They're not sort of strangers under the same roof like some families are.
Yeah.
And they're saying a lot.
Yeah.
Right? And yet there's a lot that's gone unsaid.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
It's true. I mean, I realize you haven't asked a question, and this is not an answer to anything, but my dad is 93, and we were just having dinner, and he's a huge talker. We are just massive talkers. We're like, blah, blah, blah. And he tells a lot of stories I already know, but I egg him on because they're such good stories. And, but then he was just like, oh yeah, that was when we used to spend our summers on Coney Island. And I was like, what the hell is that? How is there a thing I don't even know?
Right.
And I was so indignant. I asked a billion questions. He didn't remember it that well. Fair enough. He was 8.
Yeah.
I was like, there's a thing I don't know? That means there's other things I don't know.
Yeah.
I had this panicky feeling.
Yeah.
And he was like, I don't know why this is hitting you so hard. We spent the summer on Coney Island. But that feeling of I want all of it.
Yeah.
I want to hear every last thing.
Is some of the panic that you feel like you're running out of time with him?
Is he here? Yes. It might be. Yeah. That is the panic.
Yeah.
I mean, that if I want to ask anything, I have to ask it now, but I don't even know the right questions. Did you ever spend the summer on Coney Island?
Right. Right.
What about an answer?
It's the known knowns and the unknown unknowns.
Yes,
and the, yeah.
that.
Donald
Yes.
Rumsfeld, unknown unknowns.
That.
I sorry to bring up politics. I retract that from the official record. I love Rocky's parents so much in the book, and from what I've read about you, they maybe have some things in common with your actual parents. Okay, talk about that a little bit.
So, I mean, so there's a lot of resonance. These are characters who are somewhat familiar to me. Everyone gets to sign off on the manuscript. I just have to say that in my own defense, because there's a lot of overlap. There's a lot of fiction and a lot of character resonance, I'll say. Also, every funny thing anyone's ever said to me is in the book. But, so my dad is a slightly tricky one, because in my first novel, We All Want Impossible Things, is about a woman whose best friend is dying in hospice, a woman my age, a little younger. And in that book, the parents aren't in it that much, except at the end, after the friend dies, and they're driving to the funeral, and the dad is very agitated that her husband is using GPS. And the father says, but you're not New Yorkers, you're Chicago people. I don't know what the Chicago equivalent of this would be. The father says, you're not taking the FDR, what are you, crazy? And the husband's like, Ted, I got this, like, we're good. Meanwhile, the main character is in the back, falling apart because she's about to give a eulogy at her best friend's wedding, I was about to say, funeral. And the granddaughter is like, hey, Grandpa, my mom's kind of losing it back here. Could you, like, chill out a little about the directions? And the grandfather says, yeah, in a minute, when this guy stops driving down the West Side Highway. Anyway, that was lifted right from life. And I was sorry that my dad was not happy to see it in the book. And I felt bad because I realized after the fact that people hadn't gotten a chance really to get to know him before then, and that would be the main takeaway, even though you get how much she lets him.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. So I wanted to write a book that was so robustly about this guy that, let's say he kind of exists in the real world, he wouldn't be able to complain quite so much. That, in the event, is not what happened, but that was my intention.
I see. So Sandwich sort of filled out the dad character.
I thought so.
Yeah, it definitely did. It's funny because I read them in reverse order, because I read Sandwich first, and then We All Want Impossible Things. And so I was just picturing Rocky's dad as Ash's dad.
That's fine.
That's
yeah,
okay.
That's
I'm glad we're talking about We All Want Impossible Things, because there's the mom, I was about to say your mom, Ash's mom shows up in the end, and I think Ash is maybe apologizing, for something, and her mom says, life is messy, and I certainly don't expect tidiness from yours. And I thought, what a perfect thing for a mother to say to a child. Was that real?
What about this? That is a vibe. It's not a quote.
It's a vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's
it's a
the
good vibe to
It's
set for your
it's a
kid, right?
really
Or for your
great-
family.
It's a great vibe, yeah.
Yeah.
My mom is English, so it's more like she'll look away while the mess unfolds. If you know any English people, you know what I'm saying. Mind the gap. It's very like mind the gap.
Mhm.
Like just step over. But yes, my life has been a florid mess, and my mother has been completely loving and generous through it.
I love that. Okay, the children in Sandwich, Willa and Jamie, are, I love them too, but they're so fully formed and not sort of just like props for the parents' personality or like plot points. They're like, they exist on their own and they're believable and they're whole. And I wondered if part of the reason you were able to do that was from observing and narrating and writing about your own kids' lives from the beginning.
Yeah. You mean like the nonfiction stuff?
Yeah, right.
Definitely. I mean, I have a lot of really good notes because I did write about parenting a lot when my kids were young, which helped me remember things. You know, you think you'll remember, and then I don't know if you ever see something you've written down and you're like, oh my God, you know, you just wouldn't quite remember if you hadn't written it. So I do have a lot of memories from their childhood, and I have thought a lot about, I've been so nostalgic sort of the whole entire time. You know, I'm one of those parents that's like, when they're 2, I can't believe they're not newborns, and not in a bad way, like I'd always pick them being 2, but I miss their newborn selves, and then they're 4 and I miss them being 2, even though 4 is clearly the best age, and you know, it's like, it's all so good, but it's so emotional, and there's been, I mean, I think there's something about the way kids grow up where it's like you're constantly kind of losing these versions of them, even though they're always so great or so themselves, but there's no other relationship that's like that, where you like miss this whole entire version of somebody. I don't know. So I just have somebody said to me when my daughter went to college, this was like 3 years ago, my younger kid, when she went to college, someone was like, your younger kid's only going to college now? I feel like you've been writing and talking about this for 10 years. And it was true. Like, I just had this feeling, this like preemptive kind of nostalgia about their childhood. So anyway, I think that feeling is very present for Rocky in the book because of that.
Yeah. And your kids are in their 20s now?
Yeah.
Yeah. And you said this sort of in passing, but you let everyone read your manuscripts first and give sort of right of first refusal, or two things. What made you decide to do that, and how does that go?
Oh my God, they're like the nice. They're so generous and nice that it's embarrassing to even talk about. It goes great. They're such menches, these kids. Like, they're so. My daughter, it's a little different. My daughter reads everything first because she's like my best reader. I mean, I give her stuff to read in the way you would give like an editor or something to read, and then she's so generous. She's so enthusiastic. But if she writes like cringe in the margins, I wish I were dead. I wish something like a anvil would fall on my head and clap me, and I would be dead and not have to like immediately erase whatever the thing is she wrote that next to. Usually it's like a joke, and then I'm so dying. Anyway, so she reads stuff in an editorial capacity, and she's an amazing reader. And then my son, who doesn't read at all, he's 25. I'm trying to say that in a normal way, like, that's just, you know, like I had granola for breakfast. My son doesn't read at all.
Right.
It's like no big deal. He's read all of my novels. And he like loves them. He said to, actually, I'll just share this with you, with this small group of strangers. He actually said, he read Sandwich, and he said to Birdie, his sister, he goes, oh my God, it's us, only both those kids have more fame. I thought, yeah, that was pretty much true. Like, he just loved that.
Aww.
He was like, Jamie's getting it, like, it's good.
Does your daughter edit for a living? Or she's just a very good editor? Oh, she's still in college.
She's just a really
real good.
A really good reader and a great editor and just like a person I would trust in my life.
Does she like to write?
Not especially. She's a scientist.
Yeah.
Who are these children?
Yeah.
I don't know anything about them or why they came out this way.
Yeah, I can relate to that. Okay, we haven't talked yet about Nick, the husband. I want to know how Nick sprung into your imagination or what he was inspired by. And also, there were so many times where I wanted to put the book in like a man's hand and be like, this is why we're always so mad. Just read the book. That's what I'm mad about. Stop quoting movies.
It's so real. So I did an event in England last summer. At the beginning of the summer, I did an event with a writer named Jenny Colgan. Does anyone know that writer? I'm probably not even pronouncing her name. It's the book people know. She's really funny, and she said, so she's written all these like best-selling books in England, and she said that at the end of the summer, she gets emails from what she calls the summer men. And these are men who've gone on vacation without a book and end up reading whatever their wives are finishing. And then are like, wow, that was pretty good. I'll write the author. And she said she gets a significant number of these emails every summer. And in August, I got some emails from the summer men who were like, we're on the Cape. I didn't bring anything to read. I picked up sandwich. My wife said you're gonna hate that. And actually, I really liked it.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was really quite interesting.
Did they expand on what they liked about it?
I mean, it was really a mix. For some men, it was like the nostalgia of grown kids. Like it was really about parenting. And for some, it was like, wow, it really gave me some insight into what's happening in my marriage.
And my menopausal wife.
Why is she so angry?
Right. And I love Nick. He just doesn't have any emotions. Or any that are...
Are we taping this? Can I get a copy of this?
Isn't that true?
Yes, it is true.
Okay. Yeah. So...
He has some. They're just held close.
Yeah, he expresses them in like movie quotes. Or,
Yes,
yeah.
he does.
So how did he spring to life in your imagination? Or
Just came right into my imagination.
got it. That disclaimer at the beginning of fiction books, like any relation to...
I mean, talk about a generous person. I am married to a person who, I wrote, so We All Want Impossible Things, which probably not a lot of you have read, but...
Read it though, oh my God,
that
it's
book,
so good.
The only way I could write about what it was like when my friend was dying, the blown apartness of the way I felt, the like absolute dissolution of my boundaried self at that time was to write a book in which the main character, whose best friend is dying, is sleeping with everybody, with like a host of inappropriate people, while her marriage is kind of finding its footing in the background. And my husband, my real life husband, was so generous about it. And I just love him for that. Like, he is just not a fragile person.
That's a great way to put it. Yeah, I love that. Well, and the husband in We Want Impossible Things and the husband in Sandwich aren't super dissimilar.
They're not.
Yeah, but both so generous and clearly madly in love with their wives.
Yeah.
Yeah, just not falling apart all the time the way
The
wives are. Yeah. Yeah, is that true? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. This reminds me a little bit about of the question that the male interviewer asked you, but the covers of your books, at least Sandwich and We All Want Impossible Things, feel very, to me, sort of sweet and kind of gauzy and domestic, and I wonder if that is a way of saying, like, yeah, things that are sweet and gauzy and domestic also have a whole bunch of messiness happening at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Or if it's just like, that's the book cover that the publisher picked, I don't, looks good on a shelf, I don't, you know.
It's interesting. I actually love, I love the way they do the covers.
Yeah.
And partly because I have such a phobia about like schmaltz. Like We All Want Impossible Things. Before I saw that cover, I was like, what's it gonna be? Like 2 hands holding each other? Like I was just like, oh, I was so pained by the thought of it being like very terms of endearment, even though I couldn't even picture anything else. And then it's like a seltzer can with like a dying flower and a straw in it, and that was such a perfect cover. And this cover I like because it's moody without really filling in what the issue is. You know, like a blood clot in the snow. I would have loved that. I kind of wanted to call the book Blood Clot in the Snow, and they really were not into it. So instead we have this. I don't know, I kind of like it, and I wrote another book, and it's coming out in the fall. It's a sequel. I mean, it's not still this 1 week on the game. They're still on the game.
They took the wrong highway home. They're still on the FDR. Is it the FDR?
It's the same family.
Okay.
Experiencing something different. And that book is called Wreck. And the cover is almost the same. And that, I think, is hilarious. A book called Wreck with, like, this very, like, pristine, it's another house, and there's, like, some leaves turning. And I'm like, okay, I feel that, you know. I would have also had, like, blood clot in the snow, but I like the settle.
Yeah, no, I like it too. Okay, I want to go back pre both books. For a long time, 10 years I think, you wrote the etiquette column for Real Simple magazine, right? And you have a funny line about, like, even though I swear all the time and don't know what, like, a oyster fork is or something. Is that right? Oyster fork? I don't even know if I got the term right. That's how much I don't know what an oyster fork is.
I don't remember what I said.
Okay. What did that teach you about, like, humanity or human nature, right? Like, people writing you daily, hourly etiquette questions. I think that would be fascinating.
Okay, here's the takeaway. Other people's otherness is insufferable. Mic drop. That is what we learned in 10 years. We did the column, I say we, every single month, and this is not an exaggeration. Real Simple magazine would pick the 5 questions and send them to me. And I would make my entire family sit down with me. And I would write down every single thing everybody said about each question, and then I would write the column from it. I think that's called cheating.
Crowdsourcing.
Because I started it when the kids were pretty young, and you know how kids have that, like, incredibly powerful moral compass? Where they'd be like, they can't exclude that person. And I'd be like, you can't exclude that. And then over the years, like, I am not even joking, our son had to Zoom in from college. And he was taking an ethics class. It was, like, so good.
Oh.
So we just would work out this stuff, and it was just always versions of, like, of like meeting difference with your best self. Just that. It was like always gonna be that, right? Your daughter-in-law came to the dinner table in a bikini. Too bad. Mm-hmm. You know, like, not your first choice. Mm-hmm. And we just really learned so much about that grinding feeling of something being different and not right, my neighbor's wind chimes. And I'd be like, okay, I'm hearing you, that's. Anyway, by the time they fired me, I was like, every question, I was like, get a hold of yourself.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Right. Like mind your own business could have been the answer for a lot of them.
Mind your own business and just rise up a little.
Mm-hmm.
Rise up to meet this, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
Like your mother-in-law has gas at the table. That's just not really an issue.
Yeah.
Nothing needs to happen.
Right. Did you ever hear from anyone or meet anyone whose problem you answered?
God, I don't think so.
Okay. Do you live in fear of that? I would.
Not anymore.
Oh, that's good.
And not anymore. I had a... No.
Okay.
I just was about to tell a story that's too long, and the occasion does not warrant it. But, I mean, weird things have happened to me because of that column. I got a ton of hate mail. A ton of hate mail, like daily. I mean, I also got a lot of love, but the hate mail really sticks in your craw. Because I said things like, yeah, you have to invite your gay niece to the wedding. Like, just be a person, I never felt apologetic about stuff like that. The stuff where you're gonna be like bigger, you're gonna rise to an occasion and expand. That's always gonna be right,
Right.
But people don't like to hear it.
People don't like to hear it. That's true. You also did a lot of food writing and editing, and I feel like that shows up in your book.
Yeah.
Books, plural, right? Because your writing is so evocative, and food is so evocative, and when you write about food, it's like the flavors and the ingredients and very, very detailed. So does that bring you sort of add flavor to your writing, for lack of a better, like completely hokey way of saying that?
No, totally. I mean, I think for Rocky, food is the idiom of caretaking, and I think that's true for so many people. That's, it's like, I don't know, a lot of you, I'm guessing, have grown or semi-grown kids, and like when my kids are coming home, our son just came home, he's 25, he came home for 3 days. My goal is to have all of his favorite things, but for it to seem kind of casual. You know what I'm saying? Not to look like I was trying too hard, or not to invoke that like tragedy feeling of my life that I spent all week like, where he's like, oh my God, there's blah blah blah, and I'm like, oh, is there? So I think food is just so like, I don't know, parenting and families, and also I have this terror that somebody reading is going to be bored, and then I think if there's enough different kinds of things that like you hate the book but like you like food writing, you might be like, oh, okay. I like the beach, there was some beach, a little sandwich.
A blood clot. Okay, I know we want to leave time for audience questions. I'm sure people are super, super eager to talk to you, and they don't get to be your best friends, so I should stop hogging the way I do. But before I let other people talk to you, I want to say thank you for being here and for writing this book. And I think I really needed to read it right now, especially. I think there are probably other people in the room who feel that way too. It can be reading nonfiction. The news can be tough right now, and it was. It's just lovely and important to read something that shows us the full human experience and how connected we all are and how beautiful it is to be connected and how lucky we are to be here. And so just thank you for putting that into the world, really.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for being such an amazing conversation partner.
You're welcome. I think I should give up my mic, right?
Thank you both so much. So I'm going to take your questions. If anybody has a question, I'd love to okay, over here. I'm going to pass you the mic.
Hi.
First of all, I loved your book.
Thank you.
You know, I picked it because Glenview was reading it, and I read it on spring break on the beach. And I laughed out loud a lot, so I had to like read to everybody else what was so funny in your book. But one of the really funny things that, you know, I hate to say is funny is when she realizes that her father was in the Holocaust, and he references, you know, the town Treblinka by Warsaw, and this aha moment that, what, there's no town, like that was a camp. And as I'm reading it, I was thinking, you know, not really funny, but funny because she never realized that. And just all of your comments and like with the Smensels, I mean, just everything made me crack up. So while there were so many really like heart-wrenching things, your writing is just beautiful, and I can't wait to read everything else. So just thank you
so much. Thank you.
Okay, I'm looking for more questions. Okay, we've got a question here.
Hi, Catherine. I'm a huge fan. I love everything you've written, especially the essays that you write for Couple Joe.
Oh, thank
Yeah.
you.
And I just was wondering if you could talk a little more about the nostalgia with parenting. You just like really were pulling on my heartstrings there. My kids are younger. They're 10, 8, and 5. And I just wonder like what advice you have for someone who's kind of at this stage and like emotionally experiences all of that.
I mean, if you're gonna ask a question with your voice like that, you're already doing the thing.
So true.
It's like living it.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be the advice, right? Is to like bring. It's so hard, but to pay attention, which is there's so many demands on our attention, and I think just that, you know, just to not have the thing where you look back and you're like, shh, I missed it. But that's not gonna happen, you know. You're just saying.
I've got another question over here, Catherine.
Hi, nice meeting you.
Nice meeting you.
Actually, 2 questions. First question is, am I the only guy here?
You guys can start a support group. Maybe.
Okay. But seriously, what kind of advice would you give to somebody who likes to collect like autographed books from authors that go around and give talks and answer questions? To somebody like that who is actually writing their own books and just desperate need of a publisher.
I like that this is turning into like an advice session in different ways. So that's great that you're writing a book. Like I was about to say something like writing's its own reward, which is such a stupid thing to say because I've made a living at it. But I do think there's a beauty in the writing life. I'm sure you feel this way, the way it calls you to attention all the time. That you are living a life of paying attention of necessity because you're writing about it. That has to be the way your life is, like, because you're writing about it all the time. But the publishing itself is really a mystery and very hard to penetrate. If you want to be published, you really do have to find an agent. And I have very specific advice about that. And the thing I would say, if you're ever looking for an agent, anyone in the room, is to think about the books you love that are most like the book you're writing and read the acknowledgments to figure out who the agent is. Because even if that person isn't going to represent you, you figure out, oh, I love this book. Okay, I figured out from the acknowledgments who the agent is. I'm going to send my book to them. Even if that person doesn't want your book, they might have another idea, and that's going to be the best place to start.
Smart.
That's my very granular advice.
That's good advice.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I've got another question back here, and then I'll come up front there.
Thanks. Hi.
Hi.
So I just wanted to say my book club is celebrating its 20-year anniversary.
Woo!
And one of my book club members is here with us, but most of us were pregnant with like our third kid when we started this book club. So now our kids are turning 30, our youngest.
Oh my God.
So we've got
She looks 30.
empty nesters, menopause, that's all we're talking about in our book club. But so reading this, I was thinking, what would we talk about at our book club? And the one plot question I had for you, it's so interesting to me that you had Rocky tell Willa the secret before she told Nick. Like, did that just spill out of her, or was that a conscious choice? Because I was like, no, tell him first. So how did you decide to do it that way?
I love that. Even I was like that writing it. I was like, oh my God, Rocky. You know, somebody said to me, I mean, one of the incredible pleasures, I can't even tell you, just like being in a room of readers with library people, like, this is all I ever wanted, so thank you. I'm not even kidding. But at an event, somebody said to me, oh, I love the way this is a book about motherhood, and one of the things that happens in the book is that Willa ends up mothering Rocky.
Mm-hmm.
And I had not thought of it that way. Like, I hadn't understood that about their relationship, that this is a moment where Willa's taking care of her mom. There's a need, and Willa's meeting it, and Rocky feels so safe and seen by her daughter that she shares this thing. So I think that maybe as part of what the book is about is that, this like, the evolving relationships of the sandwich that Rocky finds herself in, that it's not all one thing. You know, she's taking care of her parents, but her parents are still taking care of her. She's taking care of her kids are starting to take care of her too. Like, this kind of, so I think maybe that's how that ended up happening that way. But I also did want it to be a crisis in her marriage, and it was. Does that answer your question? I can't see it quite as far as that.
It's a blind leading the blind.
Question up here. Did somebody? Here we go.
Hi.
Hi.
I am buzzing because I read this book one day at the pool last summer while I was watching my kids, and I wrote new favorite book, July 2024.
Thank you.
I'm here with my mom.
Oh,
and,
how lovely.
I read a lot, and I talk with a lot of women all the time, and I read everything Heidi writes. I'm a big fan of Heidi's too. There's so many dimensions in this book. The sandwich generation, I have 12-year-old twins, and they're just going through puberty. I'm just hitting menopause. I'm with my parents. It's just this whole, I've never read something that captured it so well without just laying it out, without spelling it out and saying like, this is where we are. It was just the feeling of it. It was so evocative, and I mean, I know this isn't really a question.
No,
I tell everyone I know about this book.
The same. Same.
I've never read anything like it. I'm just so
Thank
thankful
you.
for it.
Yeah.
Thank you so
Round of
much.
applause, man.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Another question right here.
Welcome to our village.
Thank you.
So
I
happy.
love it here.
It's beautiful. It's a wonderful community. I've always wanted to be a member of a book club, and then when this was heavily promoted, Glenview Reads Together, it's the first book I've ever read as a part of a book club.
I agree.
And we all met on Monday, and we all loved the book, of course. And one question we had, and I was tasked to ask, I just jumped right in, Rocky style. We wondered about Maya. There was the wedding, and there was not a child. So that was a question. We felt perhaps we wanted us to come to our own conclusion.
So glad she's asking this.
To share about that. We were all very kind of concerned about that.
Oh, Tell me more.
That she was pregnant at the cottage at the
Yeah.
house, and then they got married, which we were all happy about. She married Jamie, and she seemed perfect for him, but she was pregnant, and then there was no child at the end.
Yeah, so what did you guys think?
We thought we would ask you.
That's fair. It's so weird. I feel squeamish being like, here's what happened, because I like have the inside track here, but I do have the inside track. I will tell you, and I'm embarrassed to say, I didn't realize that was going to be a confusing thing in the book, but it was. Nobody flagged it for me. Nobody suggested at any point, all the early readers, nobody said anything to me like, I don't understand what happened here. And I didn't realize that it was so open feeling. In my understanding, that was a pregnancy that Maya terminated. But I feel the uncertainty about it. And I don't know what to make of it.
I think I have time for one more question. I'm seeing two, though, so let's go with two, okay? I want to be respectful of everybody's time. So I'm going to come over here, and then I'm going to get you, and then we're going to move to a book signing.
One of the things that I really liked about this book, I've read both of your books, or many of your books, but following on that comment, it wasn't resolved, but not everything is tied up in a beautiful little bow. It's real. And there is ambiguity, and there is concern, and there is, who knows? I don't know. But things it is messy. And I thought not resolving that gave it genuine messiness.
I love that. I almost said that, but it would just be so dishonest because that wasn't actually my intention. But I kind of just want to lean into that, but I also felt like I just knew that wasn't exactly what I meant. But I love that, and I think I appreciate you appreciating that. That's what it was.
Okay, I'm making my way over to our final question, and then we're going to transition to a book signing, and you're over here.
So I will also just echo all the love that everyone has thrown your way, and your house tour remains an inspiration for all of us.
Oh, I love that. Thank you. Even though I forgot to close the toilet lid, which somebody mentioned on a Reddit thread, and a friend of mine screenshotted it. Jesus F.C.
Okay, so my question is actually sort of related to the two that have come before this, which is one of the things I loved about Rocky is like her total generosity of spirit and just like the way she's able to really show up for her kids. But I wondered like how it was possible for her to sort of say to Jamie and Maya, like, I'm gonna kind of support whatever you guys decide to do, and it just felt like she was able to be so, not really like breezy because that's too light, but like really so open about it and supportive to them at the same time while she's holding such like conflicted feelings about her own choices in that space. And that's something I find hard of parenting. Is like something that's such a strong experience for you than trying to coach your kids through it. Oh my gosh, I don't put all my stuff on you, but like those feelings are still so big for me,
Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. Don't you sometimes think that those... If we end on this note, it's going to be so weird. Okay. But don't you sometimes think like those things that make you feel triggered, that's your cue. That's your cue to pay attention and remember that this is not actually your life. That you're, I don't know, I think the stuff that I have the most agitatedness about, that agitatedness reminds me to like show up cleaner, if that makes any sense at all. Like it's a cue. It means something's going awry for me in a way that means I have to be like super careful not to lay some heavy thing on my kids. But I think that's a good question.
That's a good answer too.
Thank you so much, Catherine.
Thank you.
Can you give it up